Sorry I'm late, but I just don't give a fuck.
Sorry I'm late, I just don't give a fuck!
Just joking. I actually do give a fuck about my podcast listeners. If you're my brother or sister, you know I love you. I just jokes. You know what I mean? Episode one of the. I still haven't thought of a name, so what I'm gonna do is just do this podcast, this first one by myself, and then during this session, I'm sure I'll come up with a name. But originally, I was supposed to do this with my brother Mike. Mike is Mike is an old head. Mike is an old friend of mine. He's old and he's an old friend. I met him while working my last IT job, and he was real cool. From the minute I met him, I was like, oh, this is like a hood dude that is funny, carefree, loves people, loves animals, and like he's the type of person I want to be around. I guess I'll get into that too. As of last month, and like a couple of days now, I'm officially an entrepreneur, and it's such a powerful thing to be able to say that you are your own boss, you're an entrepreneur. It's a lot of weight too, you know. So it's not all fun and games. In reality, I work way more than I did when I worked my regular 9 to 5. And yeah, what I used to do was IT. I used to work in IT. I did that after um, the Marine Corps. So that's another thing about me, just kind of giving you a little some about who I am. Grew up in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas. And then after high school, I was like, I'm definitely gonna join the military because my stepbrothers were all in the Navy. And so when they came around, there was something about them that I was like, oh, okay, they're a different type of human. And I was like, okay, I fuck with that. And so I was like, I'm definitely gonna join the military. Um, and so then I did. But originally I was supposed to join the Air Force. And my brother Abraham, who was also in the Navy, he took me to the recruiter's office and I talked to the dude sitting behind the desk. And he was just kind of like this real chill, like out of shape dude, you know what I mean? And like not to bash on him or judge him. But at the time, when I was looking for which place I'm gonna essentially sign my life away to for the next 4 years, I want to ensure I get an even trade. And I didn't see anything there outside of monetary that I wanted to like get from them. There was nothing for them to offer me except like the usual benefits that every branch offers you. So that's a big misconception too, right? People think that if you join the military, you're like gonna go to war, and I mean, chances are you're not. There's like a bunch of jobs you can do in the military. What I ended up choosing to do was I left the recruiter's office and I was supposed to go and take the ASVAB for them at the end of the week, which is like a knowledge test about like mathematics, English, critical thinking. I think like you got to do some shit, and it's like a hour test, I think. And then based off of that, they'll determine what job you qualify for. So according to your ASVAB score, you then qualify for specific things. If you're smarter, they give you different options that are more like smart. If you're not that smart, then you could do other things. And so I was like, okay. And then life went on, and then one day, one of my friends was like, oh, I was already working out at this time, right? So I had a weight training class in high school. And I was like, this shit is tight. I love this. I love every aspect of it, right? Like you come in here, you work out hard, and you can make yourself stronger. I was like, this is like a video game. And like you could modify your avatar essentially, and you get bigger shoulders, bigger legs, you know what I mean? And you could move your body. And then, yeah, PE and weight training was the first time where I was like around other dudes, boys at the time. And I was like, oh shit, like everyone moves different. And all the external shit in the world, like, what type of shoes you have on, the hierarchy that like the school system fucking creates. Like when you're moving your body or doing anything that's physical, it's like who you truly are, and all the distortion goes away, right? And so that was real cool for me because I was like, oh, okay, I could just work out really hard, and there's nothing that's gonna stop me as long as I'm willing to work out hard. Like I'm gonna get exactly what I put in. That was the first time in my life where I was like, oh shit, my efforts here. If I put all my effort, I'm gonna get it back. Versus the rest of the world and how the system works, and we'll get into that later. Um, and so one of my friends was like, hey, I've been PTing with the Marines, dude, and it's fucking tough. I don't know if you'd last, or something along those lines, right? But he said something to where my ego was like, oh shit, I could go test myself there. I could see, like, how tough I am. I was like, Marines, they can't be that tough, blah, blah, blah. And so I ended up going on Tuesday after school. It was like fucking the middle of summer in Vegas, I think. And so I got there and it was like immediately way more disciplined, right? Like these motherfuckers were about it. They were like all dressed nice. They were all fucking cranking, making pulleys, the people that are already enlisted waiting to ship. They were doing pull-ups. People were like doing shit. I was like, this is where I need to be. Boom. So then we started like running distances, essentially just working out, getting you ready for boot camp. And I ended up signing up, and I took my ASVAB. I got like either like a 60 or like a 55, something along those lines. The max you can get is 100. And I was like, okay. I was gonna enlist, and then my recruiter was like, okay, go home and like figure out the jobs that you want to do, and start thinking about the what do you want out of your job, and what are the intangibles. And so intangibles are things that you can't touch. So a car you could touch, right? Everything that the Air Force was offering me were things that I could touch, material things. What the recruiter was trying to get me to understand, and I didn't realize this at the time, he was trying to get me to see like the things that I wanted to develop within myself. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I went home and I went on YouTube on Windows XP, I think, or Windows 7 maybe. Anyway, and so I was like looking up USMC jobs, and I saw a bunch of shit, a bunch of gay shit. I'm not a homophobic. I love gay people. I don't care what you do, but the jobs were gay, right? Like I was joining the Marine Corps to be a fucking badass. And eventually I ran across this video, and it's still on YouTube. Maybe I'll share it with you guys. I'll put it.
Fuck is talking. You got cover out there?
Oh shit! Dude, he almost hit me. Get back.
Hey, we got a sniper.
Somewhere along here so you can watch it. I saw this video of these two dudes on a rooftop in Iraq. And they're on the rooftop and they're walking through this little room that's kind of like just like a hallway that leads to the other side of the building, to the other side of the roof. And they're walking, and as soon as they enter that little hallway that's like covered, one of them gets sniped in the head, in the Kevlar, and just fucking kind of hits him, head rocks back, and then he comes back. They all rush out of there and they're like, oh fuck, dude, you just got sniped. And then the dude's like calm, everyone's keeping their wits, and they just got fired upon. And I was like, oh, that's what I want. And part of it was the admiration of being present in the room and not allowing actual fear, right? Because they were actually in a dangerous situation, not letting that blind them, and they remained present. They assessed the situation, and then they moved on. And part of my ego was also like, I want to go to war and be a warrior. And so I went back to the recruiter and I was like, I want to go infantry. I want to be a 0311. And he was like, okay, you could sign up for infantry, but your job doesn't get decided as far as like what you're going to do in the infantry until you graduate boot camp and then go to infantry school. And so sure enough, I signed up, went to boot camp, became a 0311, which is a rifleman in the Marine Corps. So literally my dream was like already happening. Like what I wanted to do was to be a warrior first in line, and there I was already. And then other things I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps was I wanted to go to the Middle East. I wanted to be in that situation that I saw on YouTube. And boom, sure enough, first deployment, we went to Iraq. And then I also wanted to go to like Afghanistan and Syria, and sure enough, second deployment, I got that. And if you guys care about this and if you want me to elaborate, I will. But yeah, my time in the Marine Corps was awesome. And so after the Marine Corps, I did college for like a semester at CSN, the local community college here in Las Vegas, and I signed up for a like business management degree, some like generic shit while I figured out what I'm gonna do. Also, while I like integrate myself back into society, because I just went from being like a warrior for 4 years, being amongst warriors, and it's a completely different thing being in the infantry. It's like if people think about like college and then frats, it's like that. It's a huge frat of infantry dudes. They're like the toughest dudes on the block, and everyone knows it. And they also carry the biggest responsibility of everyone in the room, and everyone knows it, and you know it. And so what comes with that is pure determination to be a good individual, so you could be helpful to your brother next to you. That's what I get out of it. And so at this time, I'm trying to integrate back into society. I'm in college, and like I'm not learning shit. And I'm like, what? This can't be for real. This can't be. This can't be life. Like everyone around me was like younger than I was, but like mentally, I'm so much more mature now because I've been to 3 different countries in a time of war, and like I'm like super responsible. I already have all my shit in line, like quick from a young age. I got a good credit score. I like my finances are in order. I was married at the time. And so I'm around all these fucking kids that like one aren't showing up to class that they're paying for. And then I'm like, I mean, I'm showing up to class because the VA, like my GI Bill that I earned, like it's paying for it. But like, I wouldn't. Why are you skipping class? You know what I mean? Like you're paying for this, whatever. And so during that semester, I took a computer class that was like mandatory with my degree, and I was like, I actually enjoy this class, and I actually learned a lot. And so I just kind of kept that with me, and like kept it with me in the back of the head. And then I picked up a job working at the Strip in Las Vegas as a security dude. And that was fun. I think if you want to experience what Vegas is truly about, you should move here and get a job in the industry. I wouldn't do no bullshit like bartending or anything like that because it's like the casinos are a seniority thing, and so there's people there that have been there for years. To give you an idea, right, the way it worked for us in security is we had a call sign number, and that was based on like what time you came on board. And so when I joined the security team at the Strip, I was 93, and there was a dude there that was like number one, like an older dude. He'd been there for a while, and so they have that same mentality when it comes to bartending. But unfortunately for them, like they run up off of tips and like shifts, and so if you're not gonna get a good shift immediately because like you just got here, dog. You need to do the bullshit shifts because the people that have been here for a while, they earned those shifts. You know what I mean? So I did that for a while, and then during one of my deployments, um, one of my homies was like, "Yo, dog, there's this thing. It's Bitcoin, and it's like this new hot shit. I'm investing in it now." And I was like, "Word?" I was like, "Oh shit!" And so, sure enough, I got like 3/4 of a Bitcoin, so almost a full Bitcoin, and I just kept it. And then I got a wallet for it, but I never transferred it from the exchange Coinbase into my wallet. And so one day I'm waking up from my overnight shift at working security, and sure enough, somebody like hacked my phone and like stole my Bitcoin, and I was furious. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? I'm not gonna cry about it. But this is like when I started to realize how I continue to approach life. And the way I have naturally approached life was in a real alchemist type of way. And I'm going to explain what that means. All that means is that when something is presented to me, I'm able to look at it and then transform it into something that will essentially benefit me, right? So here's the example. Somebody hacked my phone, took my Bitcoin, and instead of sitting there drowning in my anger, I was like, damn, somebody could do that and get away with it. I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do that. So what I did was I started looking up. No. So what happened was COVID hit, boom, and then all of a sudden the world was shut down. And this is when I started to acknowledge and feel like, the government was doing some fuckery. Because what that felt like, the COVID shutdown, what that felt like was literally what it felt like when I was in the Marine Corps and we got mass punishment because somebody did something, right? And sometimes they would just be doing shit to you just to piss you off, right? Because like there's no way you're just gonna relax. That's not what we do here. And so COVID was that. So sure enough, everyone, like we got laid off for like 2 weeks, I think, or no, it was longer than that. Anyhow, during that time, I went on Amazon and I picked up a HTML, which is like basic website coding. I picked up a book on that and a book on CSS, which is like adding cool things to the web pages, right? So I was like, I'm gonna learn how to code websites. Sure enough, I picked up the book and I was like, oh, this is fucking simple. I could pick this up. Anybody could learn this. I was like, this is insane. And so then right after that, the UNLV, the local university here in Las Vegas, started offering a cybersecurity boot camp. And I was like, boom, there it is. So I signed up for that, and that was a year-long boot camp that covered everything from very basic IT shit to like ethical hacking and how to do stuff of that sort. And then after that, sure enough, we went back to work. I was doing work, working out, and then the boot camp, and then jiu-jitsu. I think I picked up jiu-jitsu around that time too. And so I'm doing all that, and then eventually I start working in IT. And I worked in IT for like 4 years, all while like continuing to develop my side hustle, which is personal training. Like I said, in high school, I found my passion for being active, fitness, and all that it does for us. For me, working out has always been meditative. I'm always connected with my body really deeply. Bodybuilding is great for that. And then I picked up kettlebells, which is like my shit right now. I love kettlebells just because you get so much more for like so much less. And as you get older, you should start doing kettlebell stuff because if not, you're gonna tweak your back. What we need to understand is, especially for the newer people, yeah, it's cool to get a strong bench, squat, and dead. And in fact, I think you should get those things. I'm not one of these people that's like, my way is the way. My way is cool and it works for a lot of people and it works for me. If it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. And I don't give a fuck what you do. You do your thing. But just understand that, getting really strong in that way, that you could do that with every part of your muscle. So don't expect to have a 500-pound bench, 500 squat, 500 dead, and then also be strong in the other motions that aren't those. Because if you're that strong and you've progressed through that lift to the point where you're at that elite level, the amount of time that you have put in is like outrageous, right? It's like, dude, fuck yeah. But all that time has not gone into mobility work and other things. So you might start to notice that, yeah, you're strong as hell in the gym and in certain things, but when you do little things, like maybe you're waking up out of bed and everything hurts. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love kettlebells. So what I've been doing, integrating both of bodybuilding, kettlebells. As you progress through your years in the gym, in the weight room, if everything's on point, right, like you're gonna grow, and then eventually, as you get into the later years, you don't grow that much more. But what's happening is you're still adding like maybe a pound a year of body mass if you're like on top of your shit. Um, but what also happens is your muscle matures as you get older, and so they also look a lot bigger and fuller, denser, just because you've been, hammering them for a really long time. And so yeah, I gave you that whole story because I was supposed to do the podcast today with Mike, but we'll have him on next time. I'll probably get a workout in with him. He's a bodybuilder. That's my bro, man, and so we'll get a workout in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I quit my job to become my own boss, entrepreneur. Um, and how did I do that? Because that was like an interesting. That was like a really interesting thing that I did, and I just did it out of pure belief and faith, and not even in the fact or like the outcome of it working. I just did it because I know what God wants me to do. And that sounds funny too, because if you ask me like, oh, okay, what is it? I don't know. Um, but as I continue to walk the path, I'm being guided. And a lot of it comes through me. Like my internal voice tells me where to go, what to do, what not to do, who to be around, who to not be around. And so at the time, my inner voice was telling me that there's no point in me sticking around with that previous job. It no longer served me in the person that I know I am. And in order to remain there, I would have to jeopardize my sovereignty, and not be true to myself. And that's just not something I was willing to do for any price, especially for the price of facing a fear, right? Uncertainness, the uncertainness, the uncertainness of a lot of things are gonna bring you fear, but that's cool. It's cool. It's okay. Fear is gonna be there always, but so are you. So you need to remain in your frequency. You need to remain in your tone. You need to remain in your coherence with yourself, with God, which is yourself. So we do that by sticking to our protocol, right? We stick to meditation in the morning, you know, avoiding a fuck ton of caffeine right away, zapping the system, taking the day off the gym when we need to, going to the gym when we don't feel like it, moving the body, nourishing the body, right? Eating the right things, um, operating from a place of an open heart, especially when the ego is triggered. In fact, those are opportunities for us to continue to spread the open heartedness, right? Um, yeah, because just remember, right, that anytime we act out of the ego, like maybe somebody at the gym looks at you weird and now you're triggered. Anytime you're operating from that ego space, you're operating from fear, right? Like, why would you react rude to somebody at the gym if not because you're unsure of who you are and somehow he put fear in your heart? If you know who you are and you walk on your principles, you carry yourself with integrity and assertiveness, then nobody can put fear in your heart because you're aligned. You know who you are. And it's not being cocky because there's a difference. In fact, it's a super humility, um, kindness, humbleness type of vibe that you carry yourself with. Because there's nothing to prove, right? There's nothing to prove because you know who you are. And so this is what I think a lot of men in 2025 and 2026 and just in the current time that we're in have a hard time doing, is being assertive. And it's obvious as to why. It's because of society, and all of a sudden it became wrong to be a man, right? But in fact, our feminine consciousness, the females, the feminine lights, It's being affected because of that. The females are being affected because of us, right? So every day when you step out of the house, if you're single, if you're not single, you should operate as a man. And a man carries himself with integrity, assertiveness, and confidence. Shout out to my brother Kevin Samuels, the CIA squad. And what that means is just, if you see something, don't just join the crowd. You want to operate like Jesus, to be in the world, not of it. That means, like, if you know something ain't the truth, something ain't rights, something ain't love, something ain't lights, and it's happening around you, then it is up to you, if you're a man, to say something. This doesn't mean conflict. This doesn't mean go around picking fights. That's what the ego will tell you. But if somebody's freaking out and being crazy, or maybe just carrying themselves in a bully type of way, simply by remaining in your confidence, integrity, assertiveness, you will immediately deflect that from yourself and everyone around you. And that's how you do it. We shift the world from the inside. And you're all powerful. You're all vibrating around each other all freaking day. And so that's why you need to vibrate at a high rates. Because if you don't, the law of entrainment tells us that the less coherent field is always going to get absorbed by the higher coherence field. What that means is, like, think of a tornado that's fucking going around taking a town. Side note, I really like movies about twisters and shit. If you watch like a tornado spinning, it's gonna absorb everything below it, right? It's gonna just suck it up. Think of that as like low energy, and then if you simply stay still, and then eventually fall into the fear, then you get sucked into it. But if you think of yourself as the same type of tornado, except you're just over here on your own, even if it tries to come near you, it's not gonna, because the winds are spinning differently. And so what might happen, right, as it gets close to you, you might actually, again, entrain it, absorb that tornado into a more kinder, better tornado for everyone else to be around. And so that's just all I'm trying to do, right? I do that through my coaching, I do it through my breathwork programs, and I do it every day when I go out. I try to be, I don't try to be anyone. I'm myself, and again, I just carry myself in this way. And for a long time, I was like afraid / like kept my true self in a cage, just because the environment around me, again, wasn't the right soil for myself to grow and nourish myself. And that's something that I am now becoming aware of and addressing with myself, because as we do those types of things in life, you hide the shadow. It's shadow work that I'm doing. And so when you hide the shadow, it's still there with you. It's just kind of hiding and timid, and you don't need to do that. You should love yourself, every aspect of you, and then integrate it, fix it. I think that's enough for today. Episode 1 of the Assertive Podcast, Sovrn Talks, Talking Sovrn. Maybe the Joy Bait Podcast. Nah. The Sovrn Podcast, Sovrn Radio. Boom! Episode 1 of the Sovrn Radio. You know what the fuck we do. I'm out.